Hey guys, here with the video showing you how to replace a thermostat on a 2001 Nissan Maxima. So that motor actually came out in I think 1995, so this should work for 95 through 2001 Nissan Maximas, as well as I think 96 through 2001 Infiniti i30s. They're the same engines. The thermostat, there are two types of thermostats for this engine, I believe. The one is like the one I have here. It's like a housing with a thermostat built into it. That's the one that's on this car. There are other ones that look like a traditional thermostat that you're probably used to seeing, like a circle looking deal that doesn't have a housing with it. This one is located on this, if you're looking at the engine, right where the upper radiator hose is at, right down here on the side of the motor. Obviously this is the front of the motor here. Right here down on the side, you'll see the radiator hose goes right into the side of the head here, and that's where the thermostat housing is located. You'll first need to jack the car up and get it on jack stands, and then drain the coolant from the system through the radiator. There is a drain plug that's located on the right side, same side as that you're working on. On the right side, there is a drain plug that takes a Phillips head, or excuse me, takes a Phillips screwdriver to remove it. It's really easy to spot. There is a little provision in the splash shield down there for you to stick a screwdriver straight through the hole. And then you can just unscrew the drain plug and let the coolant drain out as much as you can. So that way when you do take off this thermostat housing, a bunch of coolant doesn't come running out of the system. Granted, there probably will be some that still comes out, but at least it won't be as much. I will have a picture showing you where that drain plug is right now. The other things you'll need is a 10mm socket. Honestly, this is my first time doing this one on this car, so I have a combination of things. I have a short ratchet, I have a longer ratchet, and various extensions with like a wobble socket. Just trying to see what I'll actually need to get in there, but I'll definitely let you guys know. You'll also need a set of pliers to get these hose clamps off of this upper radiator hose. That one might be stuck on there pretty well, so we'll try our best to get it off. Unfortunately, I am kind of half in the sun and half not in the sun, so I don't know if that's going to affect, you know, me looking in at the part or not, but like I said, I'll try my best to get a good look at it. Okay, so I zoomed in here on the hose. This is the hose right here. I need to remove this clamp that's on top of the hose, and then we can go on ahead and remove that hose out of the way. Okay, so now I have the hose clamp removed. I would advise you to slide this clamp back as far as you can. That way you can get your hand on the hose and be able to move it. So I'm going to go ahead and actually move it back a little bit farther, just as far as I can away. That way I don't hit my hand on it. Now this one will probably be on here kind of tight. You can try and, you need to pretty much just get it and wiggle it around and move it around, because it's probably stuck on there very well. Okay, once you got the hose removed, again, I apologize for the lighting. Go ahead and just kind of tuck the hose away, out of the way if you can. Move it past the wiring harness that's there. Just kind of off to the side, just so that it's out of the way as best you can. As you can see, I got the hose removed there. All that corrosion stuff, I'm gonna clean that off with probably just some sandpaper and a razor blade, just to get all that off, because this stuff is nasty. You don't want that getting back in your cooling system. Okay, so now what you're looking at is the hose is off, and we're going to go ahead and try and get this thermostat housing off now. The alternator is directly below it. I leave it at your discretion of what you want to do. I'm gonna probably, you can grab maybe like a plastic bag and just stick it on top of it. That way it doesn't, you know, a whole bunch of coolant doesn't just drip into the alternator. I'm probably just going to grab a rag and just set it right on top of the alternator, so that way it's protected when I do go to take off that housing. Okay, so now you see I got just stuck a rag in there, that way it doesn't get everywhere. Now if you look at the housing itself, in the position that it's in like this, there are obviously 3 bolts that need to come out. These 2 on the top should be pretty easy to get to. The one on the bottom might be a little bit more difficult to get to, but I'm just going to use a regular ratchet and extension to get those out. Okay, the one that was actually the hardest to get out would be the one that's closest to the inside of the car, or to the back of the motor, as there's a little tensioner piece here that's in the way. If you come in on the left side of it, as you're standing on the side of the car, if you come in from the left side of this bolt right here with a 10mm extension, I'm using like a little wobble extension here. I was able to get it and break it free. The other 2 should be actually pretty easy to get to. This one was actually the hardest one to get to because this here tensioner is in the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the bolts, and then I'm gonna go on ahead and break the thermostat housing free. If it doesn't come free immediately, grab like a rubber mallet or a block of wood and a hammer, and just tap the top right here of the neck, and it should break it free. Don't wail on it, just tap it gently and it should come loose. Okay, so now I've got the thermostat housing off. I just set it down on the ground. You'll have to excuse me, before I said earlier I was going to clean off that neck. I don't know why I said that, because obviously the new one is an entire housing, so the other one just gets thrown in the trash. After this is out, there will be a good amount of coolant well, at least a good amount of coolant still came out of mine. Just make sure you're able to catch that as best you can. And now what you need to do is make sure you look in there. It's really tight, it's hard to see in there, but you know, chances are that some of the old paper gasket is still on the side of the head, so you have to do your best with getting in there with the razor blade to clean that off and wipe it all down so it's clean. That way the new gasket can have a good surface to set onto. I am going to use some black RTV silicone just because I like to, and I want to make sure it doesn't leak, so I don't have to take it off again. I don't use a crazy amount, just a little bit around the entire surface. That way it has a good seal. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this area off now, wipe it down clean so that it's all nice and dry, so that if you do use silicone, it has the best chance to get tacky and seal up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so after you got the surface all clean and ready to go, you will take the new gasket that comes with the kit. It probably looks something like this little paper gasket. It has one side is self-adhesive. You can peel off this white sticker. I know you can't see it's white, but it's white. You can peel that off, and then you go on ahead and stick that to the actual thermostat. So the white self-adhesive part, stick that to here. You can put a little, the very tiny small a bit of silicone around here if you want to or not, it's up to you. But pretty much this will just stick on here like this, and then I for sure run a small amount of silicone around this to make sure that it seals up as good as you can. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, and then you can go on ahead, after you get that all sorted, you go on ahead and stick this back onto the side of the head, and get the bolts started by hand first, and then you go on ahead and tighten them up. The torque spec for these are 75.6 inch-pounds through 99 inch-pounds. It's kind of in a range there. I would suggest starting at the smallest amount. I'm probably going to start at about 78 foot-pounds. Actually, I'm going to start at 80 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, 80 inch-pounds. To obviously to get that to foot-pounds, if you don't have an inch-pound torque wrench, to get that to foot-pounds, just divide it by 12 and bam, you got your foot-pounds, probably around 6.6 or somewhere around there. But anyway, 80 inch-pounds is what I'm going to tighten mine to. If I still feel that they're not tight enough, I'm probably going to go ahead and step it up, you know, just in 3 inch-pound increments. So I'll go to 83, then 86, and so on and so forth if I need to. Don't tighten them too much because they are small bolts going into aluminum. So I will leave you at that. Okay, so I got the new thermostat housing there. You can see, got it back installed. Man, it's just too tight in there. It's a bit of a task trying to get the bolt holes lined up. I'm sure you guys know. I'm sorry I didn't really show much of me getting in there to get it, but it's really tight in there and I can't really get a good camera angle at it. But pretty much you should be able to see how it comes off and how it goes back on. So now I'm going to go ahead and just put the radiator hose on, and then I will put the clamp back on the radiator hose. After that, it's advisable to let the silicone set up for about an hour if you can. I know people don't have that kind of time. That's why the gasket is there. So if you just want to fill it back up with coolant, that is fine too. So I torqued mine to 80 inch-pounds. I didn't feel the need to go any further than that, as that's pretty tight, and I don't want to risk stripping anything. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put the hose back on and put the clamp back on. Okay, so you got the hose back on there and got the clamp on. So now pretty much you just need to fill up your cooling system and bleed it, and you should be good to go. Make sure when you start the car that you turn the heat all the way to hot. That way the coolant can circulate all the way through the heater core and all the way through the entire system, and you try to get all the air bubbles out. So yeah, again, I apologize for the lighting and whatnot, but it's generally a pretty easy procedure to get done. It's just a little tight in the area you have to work in. But yeah, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, and feel free to share with your friends, and I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you can hit that subscribe button on the way out, I appreciate it. All right, I'll see you guys next time.